What's going on, everyone? Welcome to After Dark, where we relive the movies that started it all. This is Steven from After Hours Video, and tonight I've got Josh from Beyond the Grave Media stopping by to dig into the banned movies of the video store era. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me. Super
Absolutely,
excited.
absolutely. Stoked to dive into this. So, these obviously are the movies that these are the ones that were whispered about more than they were watched, lurking in the horror section, waiting for the bold to take them home. Among the rows of VHS cases, certain films seemed to pulse with a life of their own. The horror section was their home, and for those daring enough to reach for them, the experience was unforgettable. So, tonight, we're going to be diving into these movies together, exploring every scare, secret, and memory they hold. So, I just want to throw out there, guys, before we get started, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And so, ready to get rolling?
Dude, I'm ready.
Absolutely.
Oh,
So everyone go grab your snacks, pour yourself a drink, come hang out with us because tonight we're stepping into the shadowed aisles of the video store, uncovering the banned films that dared to shock and haunt a generation. So we're going to kick it off tonight. So I just wanted to throw it to you. What do you remember about the first time you noticed a banned or restricted movie in the video store?
oh man, that's a great question. Being kind of a mid 80s kid myself, I feel like the first time I noticed it, they had a different kind of box that they kept him in,
Okay.
so it was like this one isn't just the regular, push the thing down, the movie comes out. It's in a clamshell, it's
Yep.
behind the counter, and it was blank. You had to take it up there, and then they pulled it out of a safe, typed in a code. It was crazy. No, it was kept behind the counter though, for sure.
There were I recall that there was like certain movies that had I remember what clearly stood out to me was like banned in X amount of countries or there was just I mean even looking at the VHS cover just terrified me, to no ends. And obviously we'll dive into some of these a little bit later on. Um, but these are the ones I felt like were talked about within our circles, right? You had friends that were knee deep in horror, and this was definitely um, you heard about it through like word of mouth, and your curiosity definitely definitely gets the best of you. Eventually, you start wanting a opportunity to see what these movies were all about, and that's why we picked some of these tonight. So. Now, for you, how did seeing a forbidden title on the shelf change your perception of that film before you even watched it?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt like there was more danger to it, right? Like usually those were the titles people said like, "Oh, you haven't even really watched a horror movie until you've seen so and so
Hmm.
and my brother knows this and he can get it from a friend that." So, they definitely had a different mystique for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's just I think it's it felt like it was a milestone. It's an achievement getting an opportunity to check out these movies or just being bold enough to, go check them out. So, now did the allure of banned films make you more excited to rent something late at night, like when you were at the video store?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, it's so bad.
I,
I mean,
I would I would rent them when I would go camping. So a camping
okay.
and film video is probably the best VHS experience you can get. So
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
no, it's definitely I feel like the movies were I don't know how to explain it. It just felt like you weren't supposed to be checking them out, right? You felt like they were like again, they kind of felt forbidden like you weren't like I don't know, your parents were going to catch on you're watching these terrible movies, whatever the case was. So, um and did you ever sneak a banned film home or watch it when no one was around? Like, were there certain ones that you kind of had to be like low key about?
yeah, I mean, one of the ones on this list was we're going to get into that list, but
Yeah.
I bought it. I remember buying it on my paper route from a Kmart, and it's interesting that it still is kind of thought as a video nasty, but yeah, I mean, within like a few minutes for a lot of these movies, that something's wrong. Like there's a level of danger and like intrigue to it where you're like, oh shit, I could be. I think this is like you said, milestone. If I get
Yeah.
caught with this thing, I'm either grounded. There goes my, right. It was just like, yeah, I had them all.
A lot of these movies, they had a certain level of mystique to them. I feel like, and
Yeah.
it's like it wasn't until you had a chance to check these out that I felt you were more, like, you knew the deep cuts in horror. It just wasn't the surface level stuff like Halloween or Friday the 13th. You know, a lot of these movies, they're not for, I would say, most people that would like, they're not, most audiences aren't gonna really enjoy these the same way that we did. So,
They're bragging rights, right? So
yes, yes, that's a great way
street
to put
cred. Yeah.
it. Absolutely. Well, the first of which we were gonna dive into, this one is this one was a little more obscure for me, back when I was, like, really diving into horror, but this movie is none other than Dead Alive.
Ooh, man.
So, what can you tell me about Peter Jackson's Dead Alive?
Well, I mean, so I mean, how much time do we have? We got till 4:30, 7:30
Oh,
your
we got
time?
time.
Shit. I think I got it back here on VHS. I got my Dead Alive candle back here. There was something about the cover where it said the goriest fright film of all time. I mean, that's really alluring to a kid
Oh, yeah.
because you start watching some of these like hardcore movies and it's different than Psycho. It's different than any Michael Myers movies. It's like, oh, this is like right up in your face. So Dead Alive, I took to just from the cover alone. And really there's the movie is a lot cheaper than what the cover looks like. Once you get into it, it's crazy. It's Peter Jackson, but if you've seen some of his early movies, that was kind of his thing.
Yeah.
It's my number one October movie, like for
Oh,
sure.
okay.
So me and my brother, we have this thing where either go to his house or he comes to my house for like 15 years running. We don't end the October season until we watch Dead Alive. So
Oh,
sometimes it's right up until Halloween.
yeah.
And we've had to buy like 3 versions of the same DVD because it just gets passed around. Everyone always wants to borrow it. So hopefully we'll get that really nice edition this year. But
I
Dead
swear.
Alive means a ton to me.
I feel like that DVD probably definitely has some mileage.
Yeah, that's my third one.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Now, what was your first reaction to the level of gore and practical effects in Dead Alive? Like, was there anything that you really compared it to, when you saw it?
Well, it starts off, I just remember thinking it was really gross gore. So there's tons of movies that are like kind of shocking for shock factor, but this one was like, oh, there's like this nasty Sumatran monkey that's like biting his mom.
Yep.
She's like pouring the custard out into her pudding and drinking it, and then everyone else is. It just had this gross out factor that a lot of the other gory movies I'd seen at the time, like there wasn't as much humor in them. Now, one of
Right.
the other ones in this list is, but Dead Alive, yeah, it's got tons of, it's fun. It's like it's in on the joke, which is cool.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, especially with this one, there weren't, I feel like, a lot of movies out there that were doing what Peter Jackson was doing with this film, with just how over the top everything was, especially with like the level of gore and like the practical effects are excellent, even all these years later. Now, how do you feel like the film uses the absurdity to enhance the horror with it?
Man, these are big questions, dude. Good
Yeah,
for you.
listen, I'm trying to break the ice here.
It's after dark, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
how you said it again? The absurdity. How did it?
Yeah, just the, I think the over the top nature is what I was kinda getting at with it.
Um, well, I think it takes the viewer definitely on a ride because, when you've got the priest like fucking roundhouse kicking the dudes, we can swear here, right? We're
Oh,
all
yeah.
friends.
Oh,
We're in the
yeah.
trust tree. All
Yeah.
right, cool.
It's
All
after
right,
dark,
cool.
man.
This fucking priest comes in, right?
Yeah.
And he roundhouse kicks the dude's head off, kind of like Return of the Living Dead style. And you just know you're in for a good time. You've got chainsaws, you've got the lawnmower where he's just like tearing up the apartment and the big loft there. And then you got this kind of like 50s rockabilly kind of doo-wop going. I think that it knows that it's being funny and absurd. So it just adds to, hopefully I answer that right. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels like there's, like, I would say that there's, like, some influence, I feel like, from Evil Dead in a lot of ways with the over the top nature. These are movies that I just don't really think, like, they definitely aren't your run of the mill horror movies. They have a very distinct style to them. Um, and I just feel like that this is one that I always come back to. And I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like that out of the list, this one was a little bit harder to track down, even back in like the video store era.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was always checked out because it would have, I mean, with that cover, I just feel like the goriest fright film of all time. People just always wanted to watch it. And I, who made this, TriStar or is it Lionsgate? It seems like it was widely distributed for how hard it was to find. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean
We'll take
everybody wanted to watch it.
a second to hop into the chat, see who all we have on here. So we got Jordan. What is up, man? And we got GC from Face the Movies. All right. We got Vita. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Vita said, big fan of your stuff, Stephen. Been really enjoying the Cinema Rewind series. Thank you for checking that out. We have a lot of fun doing that. Looking forward to watching tomorrow night's episode. So we're actually covering The Conjuring. Josh, are you a fan of The Conjuring?
Oh, 100%.
Okay. Do you like all of them? Or are you...
I mean, I thought The Conjuring 2 was going to be his best. I mean, I was such a big fan of the first two movies. I was kind of let down by the third one, but I'll be there opening night for the fourth one. You know,
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Can't wait to get that 4K in.
I know, mine's on the way. Can't wait.
Got Brian. What is up, Brian? Can't leave out. I got my boy Kristen here.
What up, dude?
Yeah. Got everyone in here tonight.
Everyone's here.
This is definitely I like that we're mixing it up as far as for the live stream time. All right. Okay, so let's see. So would you have grabbed this off the video store shelves based on the cover? Like if you didn't know anything about it, would this be a movie that you would have just been like, this is my type of movie, or was it a little intimidating based on the cover and the high bar of expectations?
Yeah, I mean, what is this, 1990 or is it 91? I think based on
92?
92.
Yeah.
I would have swooped it up based on the cover alone, because it's not like, you know, nobody knew who Peter Jackson was. He had, like, was it Meet the Feebles and the other, not Bad Taste, I forget. Anyway, yeah, I would have, just based on the cover, I wanted to rent it. It just took a while because it was always checked out. I would go and pick it up and just, God, that cover is so crazy.
I know. It's definitely one that you know, I feel like it's definitely going to come full circle once we have the 4K, seeing Peter Jackson's Dead Alive in all of its glory. See,
This is my OG from like 97.
Hold on.
Focus here.
Yeah, I got you, man. In all of its glory. Now, where'd you pick that one up from?
I bought this from, I want to say Video Update in Olympia, Washington.
Okay. Very nice, man. I feel like that's always, there's certain, I would say, like essential films that you have to have in the collection, or even grails to a certain extent. That is definitely one that I'm very, very jealous you have that in your collection.
If it wasn't for, you know, how I was, you know, having like a family connection to it, because even when, you know, my brother or his buddy wants it, it's like, it's always $50 on eBay. It's like, it's always holds its value for a long time, which is, I guess, just, yeah, there's a market for that film. So
for sure. Yeah. Now, back in the 90s, did the idea of a super gory zombie comedy like this feel groundbreaking compared to other horror films that you saw at the time?
I mean, I think I saw it when I was getting into a lot of horror films. So, you know, I was probably 10 or 11. So I was super impressionable, you know, no matter what. But I mean, really, I was Friday the 13th. Candyman had come out like right around that time, I remember. And that just like shocked me. So when I saw Dead Alive, I was like, oh, they can go way harder than I knew that they could go, as far as like the content and the fun and the music and shit. I was like, oh, whoa, this is a different level. Like,
it's interesting to see the trajectory of Peter Jackson's career, because I feel like Lord of the Rings is just such like a epic film in scale, you know, compared to this, where I feel like that this is a little bit more like intimate. You know, he could kind of be as crazy as he wanted to for this film.
right.
Now, were there other films on the shelf that seemed just as extreme, or how did Dead Alive compare at that time? From what you recall?
I mean, besides maybe the Evil Dead movies, I mean, that was kind of like the high bar that I knew about, that I'd actually watched for sure.
Okay. And then, Okay, so this is a good one. Do you think the film's extreme gore has aged well, or does it feel more over the top now? Like when you go back and rewatch it?
I think we're all going to find out, right? Like real soon we get that on 4K, we're all going to be like seeing it together for the first time. There is periods where you can stream it like where it's in 1080, like almost like a Blu-ray cut,
Yeah.
and then it'll go away for a while and you'll be like, oh man, that actually looks really good. So I think that it still holds up. I'm watching it on DVD, and I think that that is kind of like part of the charm of it. Once it gets into the extreme gore in the beginning, it's almost like they're kind of playing with you where the gore is really kind of splotchy and hit or miss. Once that thing gets going in the house and all the people become undead, like it fucking goes to an 11 real quick.
Hell yeah.
And it's just sprayed everywhere. So I feel like all that practical gore is going to look just killer on 4K.
I know. I'm excited. It's I mean, especially we got Trick or Treat, what was it, last year, and that was such an improvement over like previous releases that we had gotten. So to see like a video store staple as such will be like super exciting. I am really pumped to see how that ends up coming together. Um yeah, outside of that, I mean, any closing thoughts on Dead Alive, or any memories that you have with this movie, because it definitely sounds like you have a connection with it.
Yeah, I definitely do. So, God, one of the worst prom dates that I ever had that was totally my fault. I it's kind of a barometer. It's a litmus test, if you will, for like you meet somebody cool, they say they're into horror, and you don't want to watch the new She's All That movie. Like you want to put something on because they said, hey, let's get freaked out tonight after the
Yeah.
dance. And I put this on. I want to say I was like 16, and that person never spoke to me again. It will
You
divide
know
people.
what? You shot your shot, man.
Yeah, man. Had a great
Listen,
time. It's fine.
that's it. That's
I
it.
think we watched Office Space first, which I loved, but
That's a double feature.
dude, I was having a great time, but they were out.
Listen, I might have to try that sometime in the near future. Speaking of which, so we're going to transition here. So we're going to
Do
be
it.
diving into something, I would say, a film that is definitely not for everyone. That's for sure. So, um, when you're talking about like exploitation films, this is top of mind for me, and that is none other than I Spit on Your Grave. Yeah.
Yeah,
Talk about a very stark contrast to
man. We
Dead Alive.
removed all the comedy for sure.
Yeah, there's no
Sucked the
comedy
air
with
out of the
this,
room.
that's for sure. Um, oh, let's get that. You want to hold it up one more time?
Yeah. I don't have the slip. I suck.
Listen,
Make sure
man,
there's
you're safe here. You got nothing to worry
okay.
about.
I'm sorry. I really prefer to have them, but I feel bad.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like this movie always feels so synonymous with Last House on the Left. I don't know if you're like that,
Oh yeah.
but it's the revenge, exploitation, um, and it's just a very tough subject matter in different ways. Obviously, with Last House on the Left, the parents are taking things into their own hands, whereas our protagonist for this film, I mean, it's tough subject matter, but you know, by the end, I feel like our protagonist is coming out on top.
Yeah, I mean that's the tagline too, right? This woman just cut, chopped, broken, and burned 5 men beyond recognition. So they're selling it that way
Yeah.
for sure. This is a great double feature though. Last House on the Left, and then I Spit on Your Grave. Parents get revenge, girl gets revenge. Like,
Yep.
kind of wraps it all up.
The tough part is just getting through, like, there's certain moments in here that obviously, are kind of tough to sit through, but if you can get through that and you get out on the other side, it's definitely a movie that you feel like your our main characters get their redemption. Now with this, I Spit on Your Grave, what makes this film stand out compared to other 70s or 80s exploitation horror films?
I mean, when did this come out? Is this 70, 78, 77, 78?
I believe so.
God, man. I mean, it takes a piece of you for sure. Like I said, it takes all the fun out of the movie. and you really got to go through about 40 minutes to get to that comeuppance moment at the end, which is like the last half hour. I just think
Mhm.
that compared to Last House on the Left, and really the remake did Last House on the Left better. I hate saying that, but it was tame compared to how hardcore this uncut version went just a few years later. I mean, Texas
It
Chainsaw movies that are considered exploitation, they don't have the same meanness, and it's cold. Like, it's hard to
oh,
watch.
it's very mean-spirited. It's
Yeah,
not a
man.
movie. I don't know about you, but neither this or Last House on the Left, they're not films I can just sit down whenever.
No.
It's like I have to be in the right frame of mind. If I'm going into either of these movies, I gotta make sure, like, I have a palate cleanser after in some capacity. Um, but
Some
yeah,
Seinfeld, something, some
yes, just
comedic
something
afterwards.
lighthearted, man. But yeah, these like, especially with this movie, I watched it not too long ago. We were actually doing a deep dive of films that came out in '78, and this is one of the films we covered on Fear by Year. So it's like a monthly series that Jordan from uh, the movie Den, and Chris and I cover together. So we went
Great show,
and
great show.
yeah, yeah, thanks,
Dig
man.
it. Yeah.
So we had a chance to dive into that, and it's really it's not an easy watch, but it I think the way that we approached it definitely gave me a little bit more of an appreciation for the film. Now, with this movie, do you think the revenge aspect of the story overshadows the horror, or vice versa?
Overshadows the horror. I think it has to, like, it's trying to make you comfortable with the fact that that's what you just had to deal with. Like, I think that for a lot of people, it's funny. I watched this, and then I went on and I read some reviews from like Roger Ebert and just
Mhm.
people that I respect, and like, it's so scathingly like negative, the way people think about this film, because for a lot of people, what happens with the revenge isn't enough. Hell yeah, dude. And and they get caught up on that first 40 minutes because the camera doesn't cut. Like, she goes to one part of the woods, she gets free. She goes, it's just over and over. I mean, you couldn't make this movie now. It would be really difficult just culturally, and some of the even people with disability like preying on that. It's just, I don't think it overshadows it. I think that it takes a special kind of person to want to see that revenge, like, in a normal setting where we're just having popcorn. It takes part of you, man.
Do you think that a film like this influenced a number of other films that came out in years after? Because I feel like that there's like elements of this, obviously, that kind of remind me of like Kill Bill in a lot of
Oh yeah,
ways,
I
with
can see
like
that.
the revenge exploitation side of things. I don't know if are there any other films that you could think of that kind of drew from this one?
I mean, I can see the comparisons with a lot of the French cinema, um, maybe
Oh,
not necessarily
okay.
like High Tension, but like Martyrs, things like that, that are just,
Oh God.
there's people that are just so brutally torturous to like one person, you know. I mean, a lot of those really extreme films kind of take from this, I think.
Where are you at when it comes to French horror? Are you a
I
big
love
fan
it.
of it? Okay.
Huge
Okay.
fan.
I feel like it's definitely not for everyone. So if we can get through these films, I feel like that's like the gateway into getting into French horror.
Yeah, man.
uh,
Huge fan.
yeah. Now, were there certain scenes in this film that had the most lasting impact on you? And I guess if we're answering that, why exactly?
Well, so when I was younger, I remember when I would talk about this movie, like the first image in my head was always that boat and how fast that boat was going in the
Hmm.
beginning, where they're taunting the girl. It just, I guess it kind of fucked with me. Like, like you can't get away. It was very claustrophobic being on that lake, and it was just small, and she was there to write her book or whatever, and
Hmm.
they knew where she was, and so she would get away, and they knew where she was going. But I would always think of that boat circling, and then I rewatched this again for this episode last week, and I mean that bathtub scene when that dude is just wailing trying to get out and he's stuck inside. I mean, that is fear that like fucking,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know, man.
Is okay. So on rewatch for a movie like this, I mean, is this one harder for you? Because I mean, you're like how I am. You've seen a number of horror movies, even some of the stuff that's a little bit more over the top. Is this one still tough for you to get through?
I mean, if you can get past the assault in the beginning, I think that everything at the end is really just kind of peaches. So
Mhm.
I mean, it's not necessarily hard to. I would rather watch this than say Eaten Alive, or some of those cannibal films with some of the animal stuff. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm just desensitized too because I've watched a lot of stuff. But I think that first her acting in this, it's painful to watch what she goes through, and it's just like you're pummeled with it,
Mhm.
person by person, and you just can't get away.
I know. I
So
will
I
say
definitely don't sign off on it, but it's like
yeah,
I can
no,
get through it.
no. No, it's and I
Yeah.
think that the crazy part about it is, like, you go through all of this, and for her to still come out on top, I mean, just and especially in the way that she does, I think it's just so, um, just I don't know, like, there's a sense of fulfillment, like, she got through it, right? I mean, the character got her revenge.
Yeah.
So, now what was your first impression of the VHS cover? Did it intrigue you, shock you, scare you in any way?
Well, there's not a lot of movies out there that have a girl in a thong or a booty, so I was immediately drawn to that. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. And it looked like she'd been through hell. And then based on, the phrase on there, I was like, oh, what's this about? So yeah,
Yeah.
I was drawn to it, I should say.
Did you see this or Last House on the Left first?
I seen this.
Okay. It was the opposite for me. I remember finding out about this movie because of Last House on the Left. So, now, how do you think that this film was received in video stores when it first came out? If you had to guess.
Probably not well. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like it was kind of one of the ones where they would have like all your horror, you'd have tapes and tapes and tapes and shelves and shelves and shelves. You'd have the beaded curtain, you'd have the adult area. Then you'd have kind of like cult horror. And this would always kind of be in that general area with some of the more aggressive type of movies that were harder to find. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's from a monetary standpoint or what, but it did seem to. I feel like people kind of knew that if you're venturing over there, where there's some of these more extreme films, you're taking a chance. I know people that I've shown hate this movie for sure.
Yeah.
So
I think that it's definitely a film like Jordan was saying, he feels like it hits so hard, it doesn't stop. It just feels like it goes on and on. And it
dude,
is like the assault scene is brutal to sit through. I don't care how old this film is. It's definitely for the time that this movie came out is not I mean, I don't think there's not too many movies that were dealing with such heavy subject matter. Um Now, looking back, how do you think I Spit on Your Grave influenced the exploitation and revenge horror subgenres?
yeah, kind of like what we said. I mean, it'd be fun to kind of go through and look at like certain 80s films like Maniac, films that are, I guess, that just have like a meaner spirit to them where but I guess it's more of revenge too. So I mean, like I said, with the French horror, I think anytime something goes for to be exploitative and they go for that really, really intense, trying to think of the right word. I feel like they're all taking a little piece of I Spit on Your Grave because there wasn't a lot of movies like this. So
No, I think you hit the nail on the head with the New French Extremity films being possibly influenced by this or like other similar movies like Last House on the Left, just because they're so cruel, right? And I think
mhm.
a lot of the New French Extremity movies, it's not definitely not for everyone. You get like I feel like by the time you get through any of those movies, it's like I got to go take like a shower,
Oh, yeah.
you know. Um,
Well, and you're
well,
reading too, so you're reading this crazy shit that's going on while
I
you're just being brutally assaulted. So
I know it's definitely not for the faint of heart. But speaking of a movie that I feel like is a little bit more beloved, um, I had to pull this one out off the
let's see
shelf.
what you got.
S-
Ooh,
Sam Raimi's Evil Dead.
dude, I see you.
That's it. That's the
All right,
one.
we're cool, man. You
I
understood the assignment.
Yes. So, what memories do you have with this movie? I think that this is a little bit more accessible. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
If we're comparing it to I Spit on Your Grave, yeah, this is, and what is this, 81? So it's a lot more fun for sure.
Yeah. I had to when we were going through and putting this list together, I was like, I need to kind of chop this up so it's not just so down and depressing with some of these movies. So I felt like Evil Dead was definitely a good way to break up the conversation. But um Yeah, tell me a little bit about, like, how did you initially find this movie? What was your experience with it growing up?
So yeah, I got into horror because I had friends that, were my mom's friends that were older than me. And in the, early 90s, it was kind of like a rite of passage to be able to sit through certain horror movies. And so I always wanted to find movies that I could show other people that are like, hey man, have you seen this? I just wanted to fit in really because I was watching all these scary movies and none of my friends were. So I try to appeal to the older kids. And so, I moved to a new city and I didn't really know anybody and I got a paper route and I saved up that money and I went to Kmart, and just based on like the cover image of the Evil Dead, um, I picked it up
Yeah.
and took it home. And my dad worked for the cable company, so we had every movie channel anyway. But
Oh,
we had
hell
like a
yeah.
70-inch Philips projection. It was like 4,000 pounds.
Oh my
One
god.
of those big
They were
projection.
they were so heavy back then too.
Oh, dude, it was like the size of my garage wall. It was so big. And so I was like 12. They went out of town. They let me stay the night, watch my little brother and family or whatever. And I put that thing on, and we had like a surround system. My dad was always into tech,
Oh my
and it
god.
scared me so fucking bad. Like right out the gate, I was like, this is
Yeah.
the scariest movie ever. And then I brought it to all my friends' houses and it became just like our kind of party movie. When she first starts trading those cards over and she's like, Jack of Diamonds, like, oh my God. I
It's
love Evil Dead. Love, love, love.
this one, I have so many good memories attached to this. I think that the other two movies that we covered, The Dead Alive and I Spit on Your Grave, those are I don't think that I have the same level of attachment as I do with Evil Dead. I've seen it in I'm pretty sure every format. I even had a chance to see it at the drive-in, so that
You were
was
telling me
like,
that's so
oh
cool.
my god, it was. And it's just there's nothing like, just a cold summer night, like, towards the end of summer, and you have a chance to just watch it on, like, the best possible it's like how it was made to watch this movie, so to be able to watch it like that, definitely unforgettable. Now, what was your first reaction when you initially saw it? So it sounded like you were terrified first time around. I mean, had you seen anything like that up until then?
So I seen this after Dead Alive. So I think in a way I was kind of, I don't want to say conditioned, because the scares in the Evil Dead, the way it's played a lot more straight. Now, we got to talk about what's your favorite in the series too. I got a
Oh,
Evil Dead
man.
2 tattoo, but so this one is pound for pound the scariest one. And I think that I didn't get over it from like the first viewing. Like I brought it to my cousin's house the next weekend. We watched it twice. And so it was like the scare factor is still there. Even when I watch it now, I can remember being alone and thinking about how intense this movie was.
Mhm.
Um, it, it's just so you'll never find it on my channel because I'm not going to cover things that are perfect. Like it's just a masterpiece. Like just
Listen, at least we're not doing a deep dive. We can always
we,
save
we
that
can do
for.
that. I would
Yeah.
love to do that, but it's just precious to me, man. I love it so much, and I've got a lot of Evil Dead stories for sure. So let's go, man. Let's get into
Well,
it.
listen, let me before we get any further, because now you have me interested. So which is your favorite out of the franchise?
There's a lot of people out there, Steven, that say Army of Darkness is their favorite one. There's a lot of people that are wrong. Okay,
Okay, so
I'm still
can I rule that one out then if that's the case?
yeah, rule it
Okay,
out.
okay.
It's not it.
Oh,
I'm still Evil Dead one. I kind of go in order. I go one, two, remake, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead
really?
Rise. Yeah.
Okay. Is it
Um,
okay? So let me ask you. I don't want to get too off topic with
no, you're
this,
good.
but with Army of Darkness, what was it about that movie that you have it ranked a little bit lower? Because I'm not gonna lie to you. When I first saw that, after coming off the highest of highs from Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, it felt like it was a little jarring with the almost like more focus on like the slapstick humor compared
Yeah,
to
you
the other
nailed it.
two. Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like a Monty Python, you know, Holy Grail Evil Dead kind
Hmm.
of, which I've come to love it. But Evil Army of Darkness is like the only horror movie, that a lot of people are raised that they can watch. A lot of families that where my friends' families from like churches or different groups I'd
Yeah.
have to go to growing up, everybody was allowed to watch Army of Darkness. And so I was just massively overexposed to it. And I wanted to show them something that was like from the same director that was actually like, you don't know what this is from, the Necronomicon? Got to watch it this way. So
Yeah.
it sounds like I'm being a gatekeeper or
No,
maybe
no, no.
or a poser or anything, but I
No.
just wanted, I like it played straight. I like the horror to be, I just, it's so much more believable in the first one.
Yes.
Um, and I watch these movies, like I think of my life almost in chapters, like the way you find people, how your life changes. So the people you're around can influence like how I remember a movie. So Evil Dead was like the time of my life I'm growing up. Evil Dead 2 was like getting into girls, and like it was like, well, this is just a rehash, but it was really fun. Army of Darkness was kind of like, this is a really safe part of my life that everybody likes.
Yeah.
I was like, I need a little more rebellion usually.
I
So
I felt like that part, that's like the one sticking point that I had on Army of Darkness, and that's why it took a long time to grow on me, was because of that. The Evil Dead, as much as I love the others, like the first Evil Dead to me is like above and beyond. It's such a special movie to me, just because not only with it being like very early on when I was like getting into horror, like this was like one of my gateway movies, but also with like Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. They're from Royal Oak, which is not far from where I live at all. It's like
oh,
maybe 20
nice.
minutes. So I think seeing you have someone that's like not too far from your hometown, making these crazy horror movies, and then let alone like all those years later does Spider-Man. So like that was fucking awesome. So
Right.
um yeah, yeah, definitely I would have to go with the first one as well. Now, how do you think that the film's low budget practical effects style contributes to the horror in this movie?
I mean, I think it was kind of groundbreaking, right? I mean, putting the camera on a train and running it like a rail around the cabin, just this mondo just like cruising across the top
Mhm.
of the, I mean, in the way that it was like shaking, and it would like do these crazy, like it would zoom out for the cabin, then it was crazy zoom in. We had the whole tree scene and like all the fog. Um, I mean, I feel like it was way ahead of its time personally. I think Sam was taking a lot of chances back then and kind of like broke a lot of ground with it personally. But
Yeah, I agree. It was just he wasn't afraid to get the story that he wanted to on screen. And it's just a movie, especially with like that assault scene that happens in the woods. I mean, I remember watching that for the first time and I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
seriously,
Like, and it's just so strange. It's this, I mean, they just felt trapped there, right?
right,
Um, I don't think that at that point Bruce Campbell playing Ash, like obviously he's become iconic over the course of the films, but I felt like in that one everyone's very grounded for the most part. Like as far as characters, they seem very believable. Like it's teenagers that are trapped out in the forest. The forest is basically like its own entity and it's not letting them leave, right?
right.
Now, how do you think Sam Raimi's directing choices make the ordinary, which I guess would be the setting, so terrifying?
Well, I mean, it definitely feels like you get trapped there, and he does a good job of showing you why you don't really want to be in those woods.
Hmm.
Like when he'll show Cheryl kind of getting dressed, it's like we're getting kind of like a bird's eye view, almost voyeuristically. Like
Yes.
as a kid, you want to lean in and see because there's probably some sex and nudity about to happen because we're trained for that. And
Hmm.
so then it shows you it's like, oh, we might actually be safer inside. Like I always kind of felt like being inside and staying out of that basement was kind of what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So it just feels like home. I don't know. Like it's so claustrophobic, but when I think of the cabin, I think of Friday the 13th and the burning, but I definitely like, I relate a lot of those core memories to the Evil Dead and
Oh,
just
for
being
sure.
stuck there with them. This is terrifying.
What's going on, Gory Tiger? Thank you for joining us.
What up?
And okay, so what moments out of Evil Dead or sequences stand out as the scariest or most memorable for you?
Cheryl shaking the chains continuously, like when she's like cocking her head and it's panning around and it's like the shit dripping out of her face. One of my favorite undead versions of any monster in cinematic history. And then the pencil scene where she's getting some, and it's just like ooey gooey, just kind of
Yeah.
like hitting her like she's one of those fucking uncrustable snacks, you know, just like gushing blood, dude. Love that scene. I mean, so many when she first turns around and she's counting the cards. When he goes out and he finds a chainsaw and he starts, I mean, his monologues to himself, the way he's wiping the sweat off, and he's like taking his pulse. Like, he's like, am I fucking tripping right now? What is happening?
It's just frantic, erratic. It just,
Oh,
and it,
so
especially
good.
from the scene with the cards, from that point forward, everything is just going off the rails, and it like doesn't let up. That's the thing that I
It
love
does
about
not.
it. Doesn't let up. There's some, I would say that there's definitely some moments where there's a little bit of downtime, I feel like, in Evil Dead compared to the first, or Evil Dead 2 compared to the first one.
Right.
With this, it's just relentless. It's obviously super gory, but it's also kind of cruel. Like, the forest is just very malicious. Um, yeah.
And when they're listening to the tape for the first time, like
Oh,
that, it's just in my DNA. That voice, the way that he reads it, like there's real fear in that. And I just,
you
man, I
weren't
don't
you
know.
weren't supposed to read out of it,
You were not. Don't.
Uh,
What are you doing?
I mean, if even I hate to say, like, don't judge a book by its cover, but that thing is not a book I'd be over here trying to read, that's for sure.
For real.
Um, and I guess this kind of plays off the last question that I had for you. So were there particular scenes that shocked or surprised you when you first watched them? Because I think about the assault scene, and it just with it being so bizarre, I think it kind of took me aback.
Yeah, the tree penetration definitely jacked me up. And then I also remember like just feeling like there's no hope, like we're trapped. Once they go over that bridge and it shows the car, and you're like, oh, we're not getting, it's so close, but we can't get out of here. Um, his girl, like putting his girlfriend down multiple times, you know, when she's got the locket. I mean, the whole movie's like that for me.
It's
So it's
kind of
just
like
like,
low-key heartbreaking in a way,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, what's up, Joel?
And they don't really give us any time to kind of really like get to know these characters. You get about 20 minutes or so, and then you're just hoping that they must have had some fight, or he's going to propose something really cool is going to happen, hopefully for him, and then it just goes down so quickly. You're
And it
just
never,
trapped.
I feel bad for Ash because it's like things never really get any better from that
No,
point forward, but we love him anyways.
it's
Now,
just, who do you want to kill first? Who means the least to you
yeah,
as we take him out?
yeah, yep. Now, how would you say the VHS cover, like, how would you say it would have drawn you in at the video store? Would you have rented it immediately or hesitated a little bit? Because I'm trying to think, the one that we have for on VHS, that was
That's
not
not the
the
one. No, the one that I seen, like this was the one that
yes, that's it.
that image was so, yeah, man, there's like a magnetic pull for me with that one. So I was just drawn to it. And then
Yeah.
there's the one where there's the fire. Like I remember the fire being around, but this one was pretty easy to get. Um,
And then there's the one I know, at least on VHS, there's the one where I think he's like standing next to one of the girls. Trying to think. There's a couple different variations of the
yeah,
cover.
and
I'd
there's
have to,
hands coming at him or
yep,
whatever.
yep.
Yeah.
Um, and above all else, how do you think that this influenced the horror genre, particularly the cabin in the woods type vibe that some films go for, or supernatural horror films?
Yeah. I mean, I think that if anything, like it gave you the, it just gave the opportunity to like push the envelope and just be
Hmm.
weird with it. And like nothing, no one is safe, nothing's off limits. So if you're gonna be in a cabin, it doesn't have to be, we have to just sit here and make small talk, maybe smoke some dope, drink a beer. It's like, you know, and there's the jock and there's tropes involved. It was like things can go wrong like really, really quickly, and you can do really, really fun things when the tension keeps changing and you have to be, you're stuck in the cabin with them.
Yep.
So there's not a lot of movies that continue to do that, but that take chances like the Evil Dead did. But you know, we wouldn't have things like Cabin in the Woods, or you
Cabin
know,
Fever.
Cabin Fever is another great example.
Yep.
Yeah, where things just continue to escalate, and it's kind of funny at the same time. So
I I have a lot of love for this movie. That's all I can say. It's
10, perfect.
definitely one that I wanted to have an opportunity to dive into. So we're going to be switching gears here. So we're going to be
Okay.
talking. This one is not as it's not as fun of a watch, but we're going to be diving into Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Man, it's way different than what we were just talking
Oh,
about.
I told you.
I
Listen, I was
Hit
trying
me
to.
with that cold lotion, dude.
Yeah, man.
I'm ready.
This is. I think it's a little bit colder than cold lotion.
It's cold.
What? Okay, so this is very different. I would say compared to the other movies that we're covering tonight, it's very different. Um, this one is a tough watch. Hell yeah. Um,
When's the
what
last time you watched it?
I watched it the most recent time that I had a chance to watch it. It was actually somewhat recently, but I have it the Arrow release for it.
It's great.
Yeah, gorgeous release. And then I have it all the way obviously down to VHS. And I remember being so scared to watch this movie growing up. I don't know why. I think there's something that, just on like the tagline itself on the cover. I mean, it just already looks scary as fuck as is. And then you have he's not Freddy, he's not Jason, he's real. And I'm like,
Dude.
well, that like kind of broke me. you know? Um okay, so what's your relationship with this movie? Like was this early on or when you were a little bit more seasoned in horror?
I think that I kind of found this one. I'd seen the cover for a long time, and I feel like when I watched Mallrats, I seen Michael. I seen that dude in it, and I was like, I think I've seen that dude before. Is he on the cover or something? And so I rented this one night, just kind of as a lark, with this movie Dagon, but Stuart Gordon movie,
Okay.
and Henry, and I brought them both home, and I watched Henry first with like a date, and that was a
Yeah.
really really bad idea for
A
sure.
date.
Horrible idea.
Oh my god.
But they wanted to watch Texas Chainsaw, and I was like, well, I heard that this is a little more extreme than that, and it's supposed to be about Henry Lee Lucas or whatever. So he's
Yeah.
really killed a lot of people. Let's check it out. And they didn't mind it, but it was a really awkward experience for sure.
Oh, I mean, okay. Well, I watched this by myself, so I guess I didn't have anyone to I guess let down.
Don't do what I do, because
Yeah.
they don't always work out well.
I
Usually
don't
that
know.
ends horribly.
Some of these movies, I don't know if these would be date movies for me, but listen, I can appreciate your I mean, you went all out on that
It's a
one.
blockbuster special. I'm like, let's get
Yeah.
two. You get two, you get one.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So
now for some of these, and I meant to ask you about this, did you have like a video store that you went to growing up? Or were you more into like Blockbuster or like Family Video, or was it more or like Hollywood, or were you like more like the mom and pop like local spots?
I was definitely into mom and pops. That sounds weird. Into like family video stores.
I knew what you were getting at.
Yeah. When I lived in Washington, there was a lot more. They were just everywhere, and I knew that I didn't have a movie gallery or a video update near
Mhm.
me where I lived. So when I would go on vacation to my cousin's house, he always had these bigger chains, and so in my hometown, that I would go to like 6 or 7 family kind of mom and pops, and then my sister got a job at Hollywood Video. Blockbuster was like right next door, so I
Oh my
had those
god.
as well. But I love the idea of the small mom and pop. They take a chance on a movie,
You
put it
find
out.
you find some gems there.
Oh, 100%.
What's
Oh
up,
yeah.
KB? Thanks for
What
joining
up,
us,
dude?
man. Yeah, man, this was I think one of the local video stores that we had, because this was not one that was easy to track down. Eventually, when I worked up the the courage to finally watch it, I don't know, man. This is one that I walked away from, and I just did not feel great about things at all.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a cold. I mean,
it's bleak.
yeah, it's very bleak. I mean, it's all the way through. Even up to the ending. The ending, I'm just like kind of besides myself. I'm like, I don't really know where to go from here.
Well, because he had a chance. Like you got she loves you. Why did she have to say that, first of all, right? But then
Mhm.
he just leaves the bags there, and you're like, oh my.
It's cold, man.
It does have a little bit of like, there's some safe moments where Henry's kind of getting to know the girl, and you know that, is it Otto, the girl's brother, is just a piece of
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
So it's like you're kind of rooting for Henry to take this guy out, but you don't want to see what happens like on the way either. So
It's, you were going back and you were talking about, I think it was with Evil Dead, how things feel very like voyeuristic with this movie. It's like we're privy to watching just a terrible person, right? Like we're in the passenger seat to somebody that's doing these terrible things to people, and it's just living such a seedy lifestyle compared to, I would hope that most of us are going through. But um, I mean, that first reaction to the film, like, was it discomfort, fascination, shock? Like, what was it for you?
I think once it opens and you see the chick with her, is it the chick? She's like, she's half exposed, and
Mhm.
her head's cut off, and you're just like, and that's like the opening scroll. The first 5 or 10 minutes of this movie, it pretty powerful. You're like, okay, this is going to be different. So I remember just feeling like, yeah, this is. It's different than a scary movie because you feel like you're watching something you're not supposed to watch, because it does feel banned for a reason, you know.
It almost feels like borderline snuff, kind of
Yeah,
like,
totally.
exploitation-esque with the vibe that it's going for, but, um, this is not one I come back to all that often. I wanted to put it on this list because I think it's a great conversation piece, and I remember it being at the video store, but it was just, again, it was another one that I felt like was harder to actually come across, and if it was there, it was usually rented out by somebody.
Right.
Um, but so how would you say, like, how does Henry differ from traditional slashers or horror films of the same era?
Well, you know what's interesting about I watched it. I mean, a lot of these really kind of extreme movies. I'm not trying to say that I watch them like often or anything. So some of them are more impactful than others. Henry's one that, yeah, I don't really come back to a lot either. If I had to put a number on it, 5 or 6 times like total in the 30 years I've even really known about it.
Mhm.
So watching it on Friday night, uh it still hits just about as hard as it did when I first seen it. What was the second part of that question? I'm sorry. I started thinking about it.
Oh, no, no, I was just asking how it differs from traditional slashers or
Oh,
horror films
slashes.
from the same era. I
Yeah,
mean,
so doesn't
wait,
he kind of explain a little? I'm sorry, cut you off.
oh, no, 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 I was just gonna say, I think the only one that I can really think of that maybe had, like, a similar tone was, like, Maniac,
That's
a
what I
little
was gonna
a little
say
bit,
too.
obviously, very different contrast to, like, the setting and kind of the perspective you're getting, but I don't know if you caught that, like, when
Yeah,
watching it.
I think of any of those Blue Underground titles, even I guess New York Ripper to an extent. It almost feels
That's a
like
good pick.
he changes his tactics like multiple times throughout the movie. I was taking notes because I was going to cover it, because I was like, I should probably talk about this on, people like that kind of stuff on my channel. So
Yeah.
I was just like typing to myself, like, man, I this guy keeps changing his he explains the MO for different people, and how, you cut off a head from this one, you stab this one, you shoot this one, you snap this neck, and you kind of keep them wondering. So traditional slasher, it kind of like, it does do its own thing. I would say Maniac is a great comp, as well as New York Ripper, and there's probably some other ones out there, but the different ways that he disposes of people is, it never lets you get comfortable. Oh, here's what he's going to do, because he's like, why did he let that one go? The lady with the dog, you're like, what? Oh, that was definitely a victim, and he
Yeah.
didn't even know it.
That's the scariest part about it. I think that the randomness that can come behind, I mean, obviously this is a movie, but I think you put yourself in the passenger seat of somebody just like so disconnected with society like this film. And I remember finding out about this movie right around the time, I believe it was like when, do you remember, like, I think it was late 90s, early 2000s, there was a lot of those serial killer movies that were
Yeah, yeah,
yep,
yeah.
like Gacy.
Gacy
Yep.
and Geen, they all just had the face. Dahmer.
Yep, and they were I remember them always being at the video store, and I there was something about them, like, obviously, that's that, I mean, you're obviously covering, like, real life incidents, which they're tragic, of course. This always felt like that step in between where it's like 1 foot in, kinda not, 1 foot out with,
Yeah, it's just so cold and calculated that, I mean, it's an interesting film because the way that voyeuristic, like you said, I mean, you feel like you're in that bathroom with them. Like you're
Yep,
trying to problem solve either how we're going to get rid of this dead brother's body that was doing something like, and so in a way, it's like you're rooting for. It's just it really like tests your morals and your beliefs as a person,
for sure,
compared to some of the other ones.
for sure. Um, Another one that I can recall seeing that was in the video store around this time was Natural Born Killers, and
Oh, dude.
I know that it's not obviously like in the same vein as Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, but it's one of those movies that I remember I just was like, this movie is just so bizarre. Like on first watch, obviously it's grown on me a little bit, but
Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. 10 out
oh
of 10.
hell yeah. Now for Henry, did the film's low budget, realistic approach make it more unsettling than other horror movies for you? The
Yeah, I mean,
grittiness.
I don't have the 4K, so I'm curious as to your thoughts on that. I feel like it feels like it's shot on 16, or like you can see the grain in it, and I
Yes.
feel like they could have made it less grainy based on the year it was made. But I feel like they did that for like dramatic effect. I'm not a filmmaker or anything, but it does puts you right in the movie when you can see, and you're getting home video footage as dudes like filming these killings and just weird voyeuristic upskirt stuff. Like it's
Oh yeah.
bizarre. So you're
There's a lot
watching
of
it on the technology.
there's like a lot of different layers to it, and I will say Arrow did a phenomenal job with their 4K. Not they didn't strip away all like the grain to the film, and I think that that's just so integral to that movie, no matter how far along we get in like more upscale transfers and things like that. It's still, yes, it's probably the best this film will ever look, but it still holds like that overall look that was just so integral when this movie initially came out, when I saw it all these years ago. Um, Now, how would you interpret Henry's character, as a monster, a product of his environment, or something in between? Because I know you
Well,
watched this one recently, so I figure this might be a good way to dive into him as a character.
so I think that to say he's a product of his environment, it's like we only get little pieces of that picture, kind of like where you know you definitely know that he has a strong reaction when he's talking about how his mom was killed,
Hmm.
and someone's like, "Oh, it was a baseball bat, or it was a knife." Like he like sits forward at the table and he's like, "Let me tell you something about how this went down and how she was a whore." Like he gets real serious about that and his trip to California and what he's going to do. So you do feel kind of like nature versus nurture a little bit, but they don't give us enough to really feel sympathetic or empathetic even towards him. So I think that it might be a little bit of both, where how he was raised kind of maybe jump started this, but when that dude wants to know what it feels like to kill somebody, he didn't have to go out and immediately just stop the car like down on the
Hmm.
underpass and just give him a 40. I mean, so he was getting off on it. So it's kind of like, I want to say monster
Yeah.
because he seemed
Yeah.
proud of it.
Yeah, there's not, oh man, it just kind of going back to what you were talking about, the scenes where he would it just seems like he would flip a switch when talking about his mom, and it kind of brings out the worst in him. And that's it's kind of what you were saying. It's like just you're like walking on it feels like ice basically, with how like volatile he is. Now with this movie, did you hear stories or rumors about its controversy before ever watching it?
I, was that the VHS you had there? Did
Yep,
it
yep.
say anything on there about that like before? Because that's what I'm curious about. I'm trying to think of how I remember it as far as my best friend
Um,
Mike
well, it
knew
says
some stuff.
I know on this one it says totally uncut, uncensored. Um, the most controversial, oh my god, most controversial film of the decade. And I remember always seeing that, and that's why I was like, okay, what is this movie about?
So from a young age, I knew a lot about different serial killers. I mean, I remember watching Gacy get lethal injection, and like it was like we people watched it on TV. So it was like, anyway, I
Yeah.
feel like I didn't know anything about Henry as far as being a serial killer until like one of my best friends had said it was based off a guy that claims to have so many kills. And so I could remember like, hey man, maybe it said like based on the true account of Henry. Lee Lucas. You know, I've come to like know a lot more about it after the fact, but I don't think I knew much about that like whatsoever.
I don't think that they have anything on here
And
alluding to
isn't he
that.
the guy that he's claimed to have like hundreds more bodies than they've ever found because he would go across the country and certain stuff he's not tied to and other stuff he is.
Mhm.
So I feel like he's complicated, but
Yeah, it's interesting because I think when you have a film that tiptoes the fine line between, obviously it being like a film and, with the real life events, I mean, I always kind of felt like Texas Chainsaw was like that in a little bit, to a certain extent, but
with the
with
Ed Gein
this,
stuff,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So like with this, I feel like it takes a step further. Um, and now with this film, why do you think it became a cult classic despite its limited release? Do you think it was like word of mouth when it initially came out, or what?
I mean, I thought the cover was it just looked scary. Like it just looked like something that, like it just looked very dangerous. I don't know how to describe it. Being a younger kid, I didn't rent it until I was probably 16 or 17. So yeah, I mean, I think that's what I'm sticking on. I think it just looks like it's cold. It looks bleak.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely is. KB was asking what horror movie franchise deserves a watch or rewatch the most this fall. I'm curious. I have a couple
Yeah.
that I'm going to throw into the mix, but I'm curious what yours are, if you have any.
Fall. So I don't know if I know some YouTubers, they'll pick like a whole series and they'll go like, I'm going to watch all paranormal or all the Fridays or things like that. I don't know if I have an actual franchise that I do that with. I've done that with Hell House a couple of times, especially when I knew there was a new movie coming out last year. I did that.
Okay.
Or was that the year before? I forget. Usually I just make a list of like 100 movies I want to watch and I kind of pick at them. Movies that feel like fall to me are films like Antichrist, that Let's Scare Jessica to
Damn.
Death.
Okay.
Certain movies that have
Yeah.
like crazy just vibes like that are ones I kind of go back to. And it's hard to The Wicker Man. I don't I guess I'm more into folk horror when it becomes September, October.
Okay.
Um, love folk horror. Anything witchy, I do a lot of witch movies September, October.
Those are great choices. I think if he's talking franchises, we were recently talking about Phantasm on Fear by
Oh, that would be
Year.
fun.
Yeah, man, and I've been itching to just go back and rewatch the Phantasm films. And I think the other one, obviously, I feel like this is a little bit too obvious of a choice, but Nightmare on Elm Street with the 4K steelbook set coming up.
I'm doing
Just
that.
yeah, man, excited to see how those look compared to obviously, we've gotten a number of different releases for that, but I don't know, the 4K looks gorgeous. And
I'll probably do The Conjuring. I'll do all three of those.
okay,
Kind of getting ready for the new movie.
yeah,
I don't even know if I have I watch Friday movies all the time and nightmare movies frequently, so it's hard to go back. I would love to go. I like to do the new It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 because that's like 6 hours. Those are kind of a fun way to kill a Sunday. Um,
do
I'll
you
go
like
on.
do you like the original, the 1990?
Yeah,
Okay, we were talking about that as well
I
not
got
too
a
long
poster
ago.
back there.
Oh, hell yeah. There it is. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite books of all time. I mean, we should do a deep dive on it. Oh my god, that'd be
Oh,
fun.
that'd be fun. Listen, we did a deep dive on what Jaws, Friday the 13th so far, so anything's possible.
Yeah, forget it.
Yeah. And then the last question I had regarding Henry. So does the film's stark realism hold up today, or has it aged differently compared to more stylized horror that we've gotten?
I think it remains consistent. Yeah, I think that it feels like getting hit with concrete still. Just watching it Friday night again, I was like, man, fuck this movie. Like this is gross. It feels like it hurt. Like, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of rooting for him in some spots, and so that fucks with my morals a little bit. I'm like, damn it, Henry. Like,
I know. It's definitely not. I would say it's on a rewatch. It's not an easy watch. I think it's if you guys are getting into horror movies or you're just trying to become a little bit more diversified with your selections, I definitely think any of these movies are worth checking out at least
oh yeah.
once, right? Um, I think that
This
that's
might be the least gory of all the ones we've talked about too. It's just the content that's at the beginning and the end. It's pretty extreme, but there's like 30 minutes where they're in a car, you get a neck twist, like you get different ways of serial killing basically. But there's not a ton of gore really. I mean, it puts you right in the action with the voyeuristic tendencies that it has. So
Oh, man, it's I don't know if
this
I'll
is
be.
that's our pitch. You should watch it. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, like yeah. Listen, you definitely sold it more than I did. I feel like I will say it's worth checking out in whatever format you're having a chance to watch it. I will say the Arrow release is top tier. They did a great job with that. But we're gonna pivot into something probably a little bit worse. And I would say this one has more notoriety behind it. And we're just going to be talking about these films kind of as a whole. Uh, but we're going to be talking about none other than Faces of Death. Um,
Man.
so okay, give me like a rundown. How did you get into these movies? And I know you were also talking. We can kind of dive into that as well
Yeah,
since
dude.
we're on the topic. But Traces of Death, Faces of Death. Like, how did you get into these?
So just gun to my head, I had people I wanted to look cool in front of, and they're like, "You got to watch this, or you're not cool." So, Faces of Death came first, and then as I got a little bit older, Traces of Death became like the staple, the cool level of how much can you handle. And then we had things like Rotten.com, e-bombs. Well, like it changed as the internet came around. A lot of these videos made it to the internet, and now we have animal nature attack videos on Instagram. So it just, yeah, I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to be cool, and all the kids thought that if you watch Faces of Death, you were cool. And I was like, this fucked up, man.
It was like, man, it almost felt like in hindsight, like a rite of passage
Mm-hmm.
getting these movies. I mean, it was probably at the time between this and we'll talk about another film that I felt like was very controversial because it was another one that was banned in X amount of countries. But especially with these, I mean, this was something that I heard about word of mouth, and the VHS covers. Yes, the VHS covers. Does it show? Oh, hold on. Let's
Banned in 43 countries or whatever.
43 countries.
There we go.
Do you think that something like Terrifier would have that same level of notoriety?
If it came out then, yeah, I mean, I think that
Yeah,
for sure.
I always think about that because I feel like we've gotten very relaxed about these type of things now compared
Oh yeah,
to
I totally know.
back in the video store era. Um, Now, I remember the VHS covers, they were just so creepy, but it's like I couldn't help but like I wanted to know more. I want to know like what these movies, like what secrets they had. I didn't know anything about like how these were filmed or anything like that 2 years later. But I'll never forget renting the first one. I was over at a friend's place and we were up super late at night. And I remember there was a movie that we rented that we'll talk about after this. And the first movie out of the Faces of Death series. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like I made a mistake. I felt like I made a
You
mistake.
set that up perfectly, dude.
I was so nervous. You know how it is. Like back then, like some of this stuff, at least for me, I would be very like apprehensive to check this out. Like, you know, your
Oh yeah.
heart's racing,
Oh yeah.
palms are sweaty. Um, but yeah, this was definitely one like my parents had no idea that I was renting these movies. Or even any of the other ones. Like I think they were a little bit more open-minded to obviously like Evil Dead or Dead Alive, but the other movies, oh, there's no way. But you know,
Yeah.
um, this was definitely like very low key. And I have to ask you, so like what was your first reaction when you saw Faces of Death? And it doesn't matter which one. Like, did you have shock, disbelief, fascination with these movies?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it on the head. The Faces of Death was like the perfect party movie for kids growing up, 80s, 90s, whenever you found it. Everybody knew that there was stuff on here that was going to make you kind of sick or make you feel like it's so real. I mean, we had things like Cops, and there was like that
Oh yeah, that's
autopsy
right.
channel. You know, there was a little bit of that going on, but Faces of Death really put it like right in your face, man. And you just couldn't get away from it. Like, I made a mistake. Yeah. I mean, I would never rent like multiple at a time. It'd always be
No,
like
God, no.
Jaws 4, Faces of
Yeah.
Death, and Wayne's World or something. You know, it's like,
What listen, let's take the first two and talk about a killer double feature. Jaws,
dude,
what did you say? Jaws Revenge?
Jaws the Revenge.
Jaws Revenge and Faces of Death. Dude,
I
look at
mean,
you.
that was an actual, you know, we would go to Figaro's Pizza, get a certain pizza, get a couple of soda, like 12-year-old kid, man, just, you sure I should rent this? You know, and it had like all those crazy, the horror stickers, and then like that puke, you know, like the poison symbol was on the
Yep.
box or something. And I was like, all right, well, let's not tell your dad we got this one.
No.
But yeah, if I watch it, I had to make somebody else watch it. It's like you
Of
rite of
course.
passage, man. You pass it on. So
I
yeah,
remember
just pure discuss.
it was like you were always at like a friend, like always in a friend's basement.
Yeah.
No, it just that vibe.
Mom's coming, mom's coming. Pause it.
Yeah, yep.
You hear the footsteps. Oh, dude.
So yeah, I would have to say that there was a lot of I would say it was a mix of like shock and fascination with these movies, just because you didn't know how much of it was actually real. And that
And when
brings
you're
me.
young, it feels real when you're young. Like
Oh, it definitely
no matter
definitely
what.
does. Some of this stuff now, I mean, I don't know. Did you pick up this collection when it was at Walmart earlier
Could
this
not
year?
find it. Could not
Okay.
find it.
I scoured everywhere to find it. It felt like it was something I owed to myself to have
We
in
have
the
five.
collection.
We have five locally. I went to five Walmarts. And then I seen it on eBay for like $100, and I was like, I just can't. I got a
No.
couple of them on DVD, you know. And now there's that Steelbook, so I'll probably swoop that up.
Yeah.
But
Now, speaking of which, how did the mix of like obviously the staged and real footage affect your perception of the film? Like, did you know that any of this was staged when you were watching it
no,
initially? Okay,
I
because
just
I didn't
remember
either.
thinking, like, why? So the scene that really gets to me, people might remember it. If you haven't seen it, you know, close your ears. But there's the scene where they're all like sitting at the table, and there's the monkey, right?
Oh, yep,
And they've
yep.
all got some sort of weapon, and they just take turns with this monkey. And I remember being like, I felt like that monkey would have clawed their fucking face off. They're just like whacking at this animal. Like it was just so.
I don't do the animal stuff. I don't do well with. I'm a
Hard
huge
time.
animal lover. I love.
Same.
We have 3 dogs. I don't do that type of stuff. And even at a younger age, I was like, this just feels so wrong.
Yeah, it
um,
hurt so bad.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And just so we can kind of dive into it for you guys who haven't ever had a chance to check these out. Like I said, it's a mix of staged and real footage. So some of the more notable ones that like the moments from the few films that we're discussing, and I just kind of wanted to get your perception on it before we move on. So we have the electrocution scene that's
Mhm.
very early on in the first one. There's an autopsy sequence. There's a like cult cannibal scene. Um, you were talking about the monkey brain banquet.
Yeah,
Uh, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the slaughterhouse footage.
it's rough.
Um, yeah,
The people jumping out of the apartment stuff, like
oh yeah, yep.
that stuff's hard to watch.
Car accidents,
Lots of
plane
that.
crash aftermath. Let's see, and
It's
it.
just
Go
it's
ahead.
snuffy. It feels snuffy the whole time.
Oh, you feel dirty, and I don't know if it's like the same. I feel like there's like levels to these movies we're talking about, because I feel like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer is a different type of dirty compared to these films.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I'm just gonna run through quickly. So we have that was in the first film. Faces of Death 2 that came out in 81 had a shark attack, crocodile feeding, drug dealer executions, and
That
political.
crocodile feeding looks fake, but that's a real so whatever happened there, it looks so realistic still.
Yep.
Like, keep going. Sorry.
I don't know. Okay, let me ask you,
Yeah.
because I remember back at this time, you're a little bit younger. I don't know. There's something about the animal attacks, like that type of stuff, just always like piqued my interest. The shark attack. We know that it's obviously staged, but I remember seeing that and I was like, I couldn't help. It's like looking at like a train wreck,
You
right?
have to watch.
You
Yeah.
have to watch, but
You
you
like lean
shouldn't.
in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like, what is going on, man? It's like my worst fear come to life.
There's the lions and I mean,
Yep. Yep. We have so you're talking we're gonna skip ahead to Faces of Death 3. So
sorry.
That came out in 85, and that actually has what you were talking about in it.
The Zimbabwe stuff.
Yep. We have the skydiving accidents, motorcycle crashes. There was like shootouts and people like, ending themselves, unfortunately.
Those are really hard to watch.
Yes. And then the last one, which I feel like that these are like the more notable ones, like 1 through 4, if I had to kind of like recap like where we're at. But the fourth one, we have like a from the McDonald's massacre. There's like what is it? Race car crash, electrocutions, and then prison riots. So again, it's blurring the line between like real and stuff that's staged. And I think that it's so interesting to go back and discuss these all these years later, because at the time we didn't know.
Yeah.
Now, did you feel like the films as a whole succeeded in creating like fear, disgust, or like a sense of like morbid curiosity?
I mean, yeah, just you reading those off. I'm like, he's not shaking his head. Like I noticed on video, I was shaking my head. It's like I can feel every one of those, like they're burned into my brain. Some of those images. So I'm like, oh, it's just like God, man.
Even the stage stuff, like, does that still?
The end of the first one, like, was still jacked up.
Yeah,
Like you can tell which ones are staged in the first couple ones,
for
but
sure.
then 3 and 4, like you get so many just like real accidental deaths that you're just given a front row seat to, that you feel bad. You're just
Oh,
like,
for sure.
oh my God.
Yeah. And it's almost like this, and I don't know if you remember, there was like the UFO shows that were,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sightings or whatever.
Yep, yep. It's
Yeah.
like between this and those, there was just something about it that like I feel like I'm like seeing stuff I'm not supposed to see. Um and I like I said, with these movies, they scared the shit out of me.
Take a piece of you, man.
Yep.
Can we talk Traces of Death?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So
So what's okay, so did you find out about Faces of Death first, or did you get into Traces of Death first?
I think I found out Faces first, probably 9 or 10, maybe something like that.
Okay.
And being really like disturbed and being like, I don't want to see that ever again. And then probably like 2 years later, I feel like I've seen the first Traces of Death. I rented it on my own, and I was into like harder music and death metal. And like,
Oh yeah.
I noticed immediately that the brain damage dude from Traces of Death just took it to a different level. He set the tone like immediately with the bands that he had on there. So when you've got real people hurting themselves, like that shit was so intense. When you got this death metal behind it, it was so effective. And I mean, so behind baseball, I made my brother watch Traces of Death 4. I shouldn't say made. We came out in the garage. He'd never seen it. I was like, all right, well, let's put it on. And for about 40 minutes, nobody spoke. We just put it on here out on VHS. And he's like, does this get better, man? I was like, this is kind of what it's going to do for another 45 minutes. And it's just really hard to watch. You feel bad for the animals, the people that are getting hurt. Once you start getting into like the real cockfighting and scorpions and the Bud Dwyer video, the filter, hey man, nice shot, like that video ruined my childhood. Like watching that on Traces of Death, like I don't think I've ever been the same. It fucked me up so bad.
It's like etched in your memories.
I can feel it. I'm like, oh my God. But they're hard to get. Somewhere someone wants to be curious, and that's why we have that kind of stuff. So
crazy.
It's Traces was all real all the time with way better music, and it was nasty to watch.
I'm trying to think, did they have those at the video store like that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Like I know we were talking about before we hopped on here. I don't remember seeing those as often. It was definitely Faces of Death for sure. Look at you, man. Here, hold on. This deserves some recognition. That's so
This
sick.
is from
which one is that one?
This is Traces of Death 3 from 1995.
Okay.
Lots of Mortician, Hypocrisy, Cataclysm, excellent death metal in it. But yeah, Meshuggah's on there, Gorefest. It gross all the time.
I like it.
I love it. Dead and Buried.
Well,
yeah.
And we were talking, those ones especially are so hard to track down now.
Oh, man. Yeah, we were
Like, I
talking about
couldn't
trying to
believe
find
it.
that box set.
Yeah. Is that a grail for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's 4 or 5 of them. I wanna say it's like $300, and I think there's a Blu-ray set as well that
Okay.
is probably similarly priced, but yeah, I found this one locally and they wanted 75, and I also found the Nightmare box set. So I was like, "How about I split the difference?" And she gave me this for 35
Look
and
at
the
you,
Nightmare
man.
box set.
That's a haul.
Yeah. Well, I was like, I'll tag you guys
Yeah.
on Instagram, send it all out there, and they've been great. So shout out to the Crypt in Springfield, Oregon.
Hell yeah.
So
Now, do you have, like, a lot of, like, different video stores that carry, like, VHS tapes near you like that?
we have we have kind of like a used place, like they used to be called CD Game Exchange. I've seen them in different parts around the country. Now they're like Epic Seconds, I think is what it's called, and they do vinyl tapes, VHS, DVDs, Blu-rays, 4K, and then they do custom art too. So people will come in there. People will make bootlegs, and you can buy like VHS bootlegs that are movies that are hard to find that they've kept the original cover on, and they're like just mass producing the tapes. And then we got a couple of other retro stores. We got probably 4 in town, but Eugene is a very college town. This is like a very anarch. I don't know. There's a lot of anarchy here. Like
Okay.
there's a lot of weird people. We got the country fair and hippies, and we're all over the place. So there's a lot of people that have really cool collections that bring them in. So once a week, man, sometimes you can find grails like that where I'm like, oh shit,
I
Traces of Death
know.
3.
I Ever since we were talking about that, I'm definitely gonna be keeping my eyes out if I happen to see them, because I got 2 video stores I typically go to. So I have a Live Again out in Grand Rapids, and then a little bit further out, I have Static Tape, which is out in Muskegon. So
Okay.
anytime I go out there, if I'm like trying to find some like harder to get movies, like that's where I have to go. Like I found my gosh, I found like Pieces. I've gotten that through them. The Nightmare on Elm Street box set. I mean, they basically were responsible for rebuilding my collection after all
That's
these
so cool.
years. So
And
yeah,
what's their market as far as like what's their cost compared to like resale for their VHS and stuff? Just curious.
I think they're reasonable. I mean, to be honest, and I think it's also just like, you build a rapport with these guys, and they're just like us, right? You can go to like the video store and you can shoot the shit with them, and you can talk, movies all day, and they're into like the same movies that we are. So I think you build that friendship, and let alone like I would definitely go above and beyond to go to their store to give them the business than scouring on eBay if I can obviously avoid it. Um, but
Well, you got to check your tape. So many tapes you buy on eBay, they smell like cigarettes, and you're like, oh my god,
yep,
it's just
I
ruined.
know. I know. And sometimes like they'll come in, they're not in like exactly in the condition that you're hoping for. So it's kind of tough, man. It's especially trying to collect something that's just so fleeting, I would say.
Well, and the problem with VHS, I mean, that's how I started collecting. Is like it takes up a lot more space. I think it presents the best on a shelf. It looks like your
100%.
VHS shelf back there. Like you can see the titles. It's just displayed really, really nicely. I mean, is that Pumpkinhead 2 up there in the
That is
middle?
Pumpkinhead
Dude,
2.
I know the logo. It looks
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cool from here.
Yeah,
That's a
man.
fucking $40 tape, right? Anyway,
Dude, I definitely feel like I
look
got some
at
gems
you.
in there
Steven got
you would
some.
appreciate of all people.
That's super cool. But
Um,
anyway, it gets really
yeah,
expensive trying to collect 4Ks are 35, 40, and then sometimes these VHSs that you remember from having as a kid, you're looking at 25, $30 and you're like, "Oh my god."
it's funny, and obviously this is part of the aesthetic, like why I do what I do with this, but I think it's just the idea of us being able to recapture those video store memories and the nostalgia that comes with it. As much as obviously we love collecting 4Ks and Blu-rays, I think there's just something that was so tangible and different about the VHS era, where that's really, I mean, that's where it was like a gateway for a lot of us discovering the horror movies or just movies in general that we obviously know and love at this point.
It's the
Um,
best time to think about, like, just having VHS. I mean, did you come from a family, I don't wanna get too far into it
no,
and
no,
get off
no, for
topic, but,
sure.
um, did your family have a VHS collection growing up?
So It was something that I actively had to seek out. My dad
Okay.
was responsible for being the enabler when it came to my movie collecting, my love for pushing the envelope with what movies I could watch. So, um, growing up, we obviously had Blockbuster, then we had some more local video stores near us where we like when we were younger. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until we moved and then I had the ability to go to all these like smaller video stores that were local. That's where I discovered a lot of the stuff that, really opened up my mind to what else is out there, not just on horror, but like in general. So, I would have to say that he was really responsible for me getting into this. We didn't own stuff like that growing up, but I would seek it out and I would buy it, and I built my own collection. And, for Christmas or birthdays, like if there was, certain VHS tapes or DVDs that I was looking to add to the collection, then I would just be like, "Hey, Dad, you mind picking that up or what?"
It's so interesting to hear how other people did it. I mean, I guess in a way I was lucky because my parents would bring like it was Halloween. I remember one time my mom would bring home movies that she would get from Target discounted. It was Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Wayne's World, which became
Okay.
just like part of my DNA.
Yeah.
And then they'd go to McDonald's and buy tapes.
Yeah.
But they would buy the movies that they wanted to watch, and sometimes they weren't appropriate, but they were movie collectors. So I think as you grow up, you kind of gravitate towards people like that because
Oh,
they want to
yeah,
have the movie
absolutely.
in their, you know, super
Now,
cool.
how was it for you? I mean, were you the one who was actively seeking these out, or did you have friends, family that were, like, into this before you got to that point?
Yeah, luckily, like, I mean, physical media was still really, really popular, especially being in, Vancouver, Seattle, and then Portland. It was people wanted, you would get singles at the CD store of the new songs that were out. And then, so I feel like we had Suncoast, we had Hastings Video, and we would just go there. People would buy 5 or 6 movies a week, and all
Yeah,
my friends would bring them home, and we would just have sleepovers and watch them.
the
But,
best.
every house I went to, they had at least the Titanic and the Godfather.
Oh god.
Like, they had the double tapes. Everybody had them, like, no matter what, we've got.
Casino, Goodfellas.
Yeah. My grandparents would tape things off TV, so they had, like, a massive collection of movies that they would watch, so I think I was just born into it.
Can we say Titanic gets the crowning achievement for, like, the
Oh,
most units probably pushed?
it's gotta be right there.
Every home had that. Like, it was like that was the movie that somebody had in their collection.
Oh, yeah. Or they got Indiana Jones from McDonald's. I seen a lot of box sets growing up,
Yeah.
which I
Rocky,
love.
remember the Rocky
Rocky,
set? Yep.
dude. I
Um,
mean, and then, meeting my wife, it was like I acquired her VHS because she kept all hers when she was a kid. So it's
now
just interesting to see how people
what did she collect?
she really likes she's in like The Crow, Beetlejuice, Natural
Oh,
Born
okay.
Killers,
Okay.
True Romance, some kind of like a lot more comedies and stuff. But yeah, I mean, she had probably 100 movies when I met her just on tape, and then she had a
Wow.
little rack of DVDs. So
Yeah.
it's
I f
it's been cool to expose people to what you're into.
I feel very fortunate because my wife is very supportive of my VHS habits, my DVD habits, my
And what's your
Blu-ray
VHS
habits.
frequency? How often do you watch a new tape you get?
Like, as far as, like, how often I'll, like, throw in a tape?
Yeah,
Um, so we have a CRT TV that's upstairs, like the TV VCR combo.
nice.
Um, I feel like it kinda comes in waves, I would say. Comes in waves. We have it upstairs, so it's, like, it's convenient for the sake of us, like, at night, if we wanna throw in a tape, we'll watch a movie together, but most of the time she passes out, it's just me. I'm going
No, same.
and it's usually stuff that I'm picking out, like, trying to think, like, over the summer, we watched, like, Poltergeist or
Oh, that's nice.
Jaws or, like, whatever,
Heavy
and
hitter.
or Texas Chainsaw 2, and all she hears is, like, the chainsaw revving in the background while trying to sleep, but
Yeah, Scott yelled it for that. Yeah,
yeah.
Monday night, right?
Yep, yep. So, I would say like semi-frequently, and trying to balance that with like, we obviously have a chance to check out like new 4K or Blu-ray releases, so I try to balance it out
Right.
that way. But I would say it's for the most part, it's pretty neck and neck.
I do
What about
probably like
you?
once a month. I have a CRT out in my garage just behind my laptop here.
Okay.
So if I'm editing stuff, I've usually got a stack of tapes that I just picked up that I'll put on. So I got like some mood music while I'm watching
Yeah.
editing stuff. But um Halloween time, I'll probably watch more tapes. But
Yes. Yep.
my best friend Mike, all he has is tapes. So he'll get 100 tapes a month. And so he's got probably like
Holy
900
shit.
tapes. Like that's all he watches. So if he's getting into 4K, he's got all these questions and like, what does it look like?
Where
It's
do I go from
crazy,
here? What do I do?
right? But he's got everything. So, you know,
It's listen, I can there's definitely a side of me that through and through will always appreciate the hobby. Um, I just and I will always stand by this too, is that um I like to show my appreciation for all forms of physical media,
same.
everything ranging from VHS all the way on up to 4K. And that's why, like, I think it's important to have all formats just to be able to just show your love for all of them.
So next to my VHS player, I have Primus on CD
Oh, look
because I
at you,
got a tape
man.
player, a CD player out in the garage. Just
That
like
is a
vinyl.
habit. That is I don't want to say a habit, a collecting hobby that I don't need. I already have vinyls. I have a few
That was my next
yeah,
question.
I
Yeah.
have a handful of like Friday the 13th cassettes. I don't need any more. That's not I'm not trying to go down that road.
I just never got rid of anything. So I've got, couple hundred different random tapes and CD just everywhere. It's physical media,
That's
man.
awesome.
But vinyl's really expensive too. So I'm
That's
took
you
us
gotta
way off topic, way
Oh,
after
it's
dark
it's
here.
okay. It's okay.
I get
So
excited to hear about how people watch these tapes.
oh, absolutely. Now I wanted to ask you, kind of bringing it back. So we talked a little bit about Traces of Death, if anyone's just jumping in, but with Faces of Death, were there any particular segments or scenes that stayed with you like long after you had a chance to watch it? I feel like the electrocution one is one that I don't know why. I think that that's like probably one of the more known ones that I can recall.
Is that the closer for the first one? Or
I
is it
don't
the
know.
beginning?
I thought
I think it's the close. It's towards the end.
yeah, I think you might be right.
That one is really memorable. And then I just think that the narration and the way that dude talks the whole time, it's like it's a documentary, but it's not. But it's like it's very effective the way that it's played. And then it ends and it's like dogs and cats and this crazy music and it's bizarre.
It's weird, and on rewatch when I picked this up, like I was going through and watching like the first couple back to back, and at least with the first one, I'm like, this is a little bit more boring than I remember. I mean,
Yeah.
it's for the cultural significance. I will always recommend at least checking maybe one of them out, but it's definitely not as scary as like I remember all those years ago when I was first getting into checking out any of these movies in the collection.
Yeah, if people are wondering, I mean, if you're into the real stuff, it's definitely Traces of Death. But
For
Traces of
sure.
Death, I mean, it was banned, it was hard to get. Everybody wanted it.
Yeah.
So
Now, how do you think that these films blur the line between reality and fiction? Do you think that that adds to the horror of it?
I think when you're younger, it does. Now, maybe it's just in bad taste as you watch them when you get older. You're like, I don't know if things you wouldn't do.
Yeah,
But when you're a little kid and you watch them, I mean, it's effective to have it when you're not sure. Sometimes you can tell it just looks staged, but yeah, lots of talking out loud. It's really good conversation when you're wondering what's going on in
for
those movies.
sure. For sure. I don't know how well, I mean, even if some of the stuff is staged, I don't know how well it's aged. Like it almost feels like you kind of had to be there for at least with these movies. Um Now if you came across Faces of Death back then on the video store shelf, would you have dared to rent it at the time?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay. You're like how I am. Now what
It
about
just
the
it had such a reputation, it was
yes. Yep.
yeah.
And then how did you think the cover art or like the warnings contribute to its forbidden allure?
I remember seeing that with Texas Chainsaw, and there was a
Yep.
couple other ones. I mean, I think Last House on the Left had similar stuff. I mean, this list that me and Steven decided on, there was like 10 or 12 that were all like heavily banned, they'd always have these crazy stickers on it. So I think those stickers, if they're trying to keep people away, they do a bad job because a lot of people are just naturally curious.
If anything, it was the opposite. It encouraged
The
me to check them
opposite.
out.
Maybe it's for
um,
grandparents, like, don't let your kids watch it, but
listen, it was hard to narrow this down, if I'm being honest. So I mean, maybe we could always revisit this, a part two to this in the near
I love
future.
it.
I'd love to cover more of these. Now, the last thing I wanted to touch on real quickly before we cover the last film. So why do you think Faces of Death became a cult phenomenon despite or because of its controversy?
I think because people thought that it was, it was ahead of its time. I think people really wanted to know executions, murder, self-inflicted animal trampling. Just people are curious about that shit, man. And I think they just want to they want to see it because it's like you said with the train accident, or a car wreck, you just can't really look away. So, you know, wasn't very long before we had everything was reality TV and, you know,
It's almost like I think at the time we saw less of it, so it was a little bit more shocking.
yeah.
And as time has gone on, I mean, I hate saying it, but a lot of the stuff you could probably find on Reddit.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's definitely, if you're trying to seek out to try and find some of the less tasteful stuff when it comes to either movies or real life incidents, you can definitely seek it out and it's not too hard to find.
And they're unedited sometimes on YouTube. You can just go
Yep.
watch Traces of Death right now, which is crazy.
Ooh,
But
what a time to be alive. All right. Well, speaking of a time to be alive, this is one of the movies that I wanted to save for the very end because I think that, at least for me, it holds a very, very memorable time in my life. Discovering it for the first time, not really quite being sure what to make of it, the lasting impact that it had, I would say maybe on both of us all these years later, and just how I feel like that this movie definitely left a lasting impact on me, not only for my appreciation for horror, but I think seeing what movies could do as far as pushing the envelope. And that is none other than Cannibal Holocaust. Hell yeah. So I had to save the best for last.
dude, I know it.
Um, okay.
Did we lose everybody? Is there anybody left in the chat?
I I think that maybe
I
they're in
can't tell.
shock.
I can see them, but
Yeah,
man,
that maybe they're in shock from Faces of Death or Traces of Death.
we're gonna get into it.
We're gonna get into it. So, um, what was your exposure to Cannibal Holocaust? Because this is not. I mean, even now, 4K, VHS, whatever format, is not a movie that I think ever gets easier to watch.
No. So the long and the short of it for me was this was a movie that I'd heard about for such a long time that was almost impossible to find physically, especially just to rent it. So it was always just whispered about. It had a
Hmm.
crazy amount of legs as far as like almost like urban legend status, where people would talk about this film almost like in reverence for how disgusting it was and how they never want to see it again and how you're fucked up if you want to watch it. So naturally, I wanted to watch it.
And
So
here we are.
and here we are.
Yep.
I finally found this movie in like I watched this for the first time, I want to say when I was like 19, and I was in a local store. I was on vacation, like a camping trip in Bend, Oregon, where the last Blockbuster is.
Oh, okay.
And there's this place called Pilot Butte Video, and we were walking up, camping or whatever, and we went in there, and the guy had a $75 version of Cannibal Holocaust. I was like, why is it $75? Everything else is $2 on tape. And he's like, well, it's $75 because you get to keep it if you don't bring it back. That's just the fee for the movie. So 75 plus $2. And I was like, and then there was some stipulation where I had to like fill out a form that I was old enough to watch it, turn it in with my ID. So like, and my address or whatever. So I brought that thing home and I watched it with my best friend, and nobody spoke for a long time. Even at 19, I remember just thinking, this is probably the most fucked up thing I've ever seen. And I thought it was all real, even
Yep.
being 19. And it had just incredible legs as I've gotten older. Like I still go back to that moment of shock and sitting on the floor and just like head in my hands, like, is this going to get better? Like, why is this happening? Especially being an animal lover. Like, yeah, that's kind of my story with how I found it.
God, this I remember. So, a friend of mine and I had rented this, and I believe it was the first Faces of Death, if I recall correctly. And I just remember being over at my friend's place, and dad was gone for the night, so we were just posted up for the night. We rented a couple movies, just it was like the perfect setting to have a chance to dive into Cannibal Holocaust and Faces of Death. And I remember I'm like, I turn on the movie, and the opening sequence where the title, the like the oh my gosh, the opening credits come
Mhm.
on, and you have like the soundtrack that's playing, and I'm like, what is this music?
So good.
Oh, it's good. Don't get me wrong.
Really
I was
good.
just very confused by it on first watch. And it's like a complete contrast between what you're getting. That
Oh, yeah.
music versus what you're getting in the content in this dark journey that these characters are going to have into the jungle is, you don't know what you're in for.
You don't.
Um and I
So
just
you're there
remember,
with your buddy, you guys are watching it.
yeah, we're watching it, and I
How old
just,
were you think?
oh man, I was probably like, I was definitely in my teens.
Okay.
That's for sure. Yeah, it was definitely in my teens. Um, it might have been like, I want to say it was like tail end of high school.
Okay.
And I just knew that I had to watch this. Couldn't be at home. Same with Faces of Death. And it was reserved for that one night.
Need
And
a safe space.
oh my God. I was like a shell of a teenager after watching both of those back to back. Um, I thought a lot of it it was like hard to stomach. If
Yeah.
I'm being honest, it was not, this is not, Nightmare on Elm Street,
Not even close, dude.
you know? Um, Now, what was your initial reaction when you first watched Cannibal Holocaust? Was shock, disbelief, fascination with this, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I probably wasn't gonna watch it again, like, as far as because you get a movie for a few nights, and other people had come over, like, the next day, our group that was camping with us, and they wanted to watch it. I don't think I was into it, like, right away. It
No,
took a little bit for me to kind of process that movie because it's a really, really well-made movie too, and it's a movie inside of a movie. It's really kind of one of the first documentaries that's done like that.
found
So
footage.
found footage,
Yep.
and I was confused. I was like, so we're finding so they were the ones that had these atrocities committed on them because they were fucked up people. So I was just really conflicted as far as like how I felt about it and why there had to be so much animal stuff. I was just like, I had a lot of questions. I was just shocked.
Well, and I think that the as difficult as it is with the animal sequences that we see in the movie, those are tough to watch. I think no matter how many years removed we are from this, but I also feel like it shows the depravity of the journalists, to what extent that they're willing to go to create a story. And
Any length, right?
yeah, and it's just, it becomes like there's no longer this stark disconnect between that and the terrible things that they're doing. I mean, you know, years later, like when you have a chance to like really revisit this movie and appreciate it for what it actually is, I mean, you're left kind of wondering like who's worse here, the journalists or the cannibals.
Yeah, you kind of feel bad for the tribes. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah. Now, how do you think that this film balances found footage realism with extreme horror and gore?
I mean, I think it's really, really ahead of its time for sure. I put this up in the top horror films ever made. And I know that a lot of people get upset with that because how can you even, people have a real reaction to this film because of the violence, because of the assault, and because of the animal cruelty.
Mhm.
And I think that was the intention. Movies aren't supposed to be safe. So
No.
this one shocks you with gore, shocks you what people are capable of, and then it, you just feel it's just gutted afterward. Like it's a really smart movie, just the way they wrap up the found footage with the realism. And then when you're in real time, you're going back, you're at a court table, you're kind of trying to like process what happened. And then you're back in the jungle and you're like, I hope they don't do, oh, they're doing this again.
Mhm.
It's a very sticky, sweaty, grimy movie.
And it feels, over the course of the movie, there's a sense of like you know, our group of like journalists that are very naive and out of their element. And it feels like over the course of the movie, Diodato does a very effective job creating this downward spiral. They become they go from being, I guess, like more, I don't know, I would say like more normal, and it spirals out of control so quickly where they become depraved and
They
just
go from apathy to depraved real quick. It's like
oh, it's
like,
nuts, you know? And now what role do you think the documentary framing play in shaping our perception of events with this?
I mean, that's a great question because it makes you feel, yeah, it really makes you wonder like who, like what came first and who was really in the wrong here. Eventually, I've seen this movie countless times. I probably watch it once a year, and you glean a little bit each time you watch it. I think because it's a really layered movie with the
Mhm.
found footage and the way that the settings and the way that the events play out. So I think it does that just masterfully. I think it can be confusing the first time, and what you're expecting is not like you're expecting this thing to just be a jungle cannibal film the whole time, and so
Yep.
you're like geared up for gore and people on sticks, and you're just like, but it's like it's smart. It's like it's playing with your emotions, crazy good music,
Oh, it's so good.
transitions. It's a smart fucking movie, man. So I just I think it does that perfectly.
So the soundtrack is by Riz Ortolani. Hopefully I didn't butcher that, but um, yeah, it's just very masterful in the way that it starts off very lush and just cinematic for the opening scene, and then it just takes us down. Like it really kind of beats you down over the course of it. It just kind of gives it like a very like somber feel to like what's going on, and just if something you feel very uneasy with this score. It I think enhances the experience that much more. Um,
Yeah.
now, I think that this is a great segue. Were there scenes that particularly disturbed you, and why?
Yeah, 100%. The turtle, the fucking
Yeah.
turtle. To this day, hate watching the turtle.
Hmm.
Um, hate watching that. Hate it.
My least favorite part about any of the, and you could probably attest to this. It's a very common theme throughout the cannibal
Oh yeah.
subgenres. So like Cannibal Ferox, Eaten Alive, you know, movies in that vein, you're definitely getting more of that than not.
Shock factor for sure.
Yep.
So
Uh,
the turtle, the
okay.
scene where the woman is on the spike, and when you kind of find out how she got there, and the scene on the sand where there's the assault, that scene is really, really hard to watch.
Hmm.
Um, the kind of castrated scene that's unpleasant for sure.
Oh,
Some of the stuff they do, they just have coming to them, So it's a means to an end, unfortunately. For these people are just,
it's like self-destructive.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Um, yeah.
shocking imagery, man.
Oh, it is. I think the impalement scene is so. I mean,
It's
not in a good way.
iconic.
Yeah, it's iconic. I don't know about in the best way, but like, you know, that shot has obviously been used a handful of times, and even I believe after the film was released, they were. I mean, they were trying to determine the validity of not only that,
Mhm.
but also the entire cast.
Yeah, they're on trial, so it's like, man. And then the clause where they can't even talk about the movie or show up, so it's like they're missing. You know,
Oh, I think
genius.
Ruggiero Deodato, I think, was so ahead of his time, not
Yeah.
just with the movie, but the level of like marketing and just everything around this film. I would have to agree. It's easily like, yes, it's a very depraved movie, but I think that there's also it- it's hard to explain the impact that this film had, and especially like I think seeing it when, at least when I saw it, left a lasting mark on my love of film and just trying to understand this movie on a deeper level. Um, Now, if you saw this film on a VHS shelf in the, let's just say, like the 80s or 90s, would you have rented it or been too intimidated? I guess it probably would have been most likely the 90s when discovering this.
Yeah. So It's funny, Cannibal Holocaust, like the title is right on the nose. It is exactly what you think it's going to be. Some movies just Texas Chainsaw Massacre, perfect branding, right?
Yep.
Saw, perfect branding.
Yeah.
Cannibal Holocaust is perfectly branded, and that cover photo with that girl on the spike, I mean, it felt forbidden. Like you can't rent this movie. Something bad is going to happen. Like I was so drawn to it. I could just never find it. So it was always checked out. But it has a lot of legs as far as its culture and culture is the wrong term, but the
The impact,
reputation. I
the
mean,
impact it
the
had.
impact.
Yep.
Thank you.
Um,
100%, man.
Now, how did the cover art, speaking of which, and the band reputation influence your curiosity?
Um, well, it was the first time I think I remember seeing like the blood font, kind of dripping in a horror font, which I really
Mhm.
was a big fan of. And I'll pull out the reversible cover here that I remember seeing. Pretty sure I can show this.
Let's
Like
see.
that image. Let me do this right here.
Yes, that's the one.
It was so. It just felt like I felt like something bad was going to happen. Very intimidating. Huge, huge fan. Like,
What's up, Steven? Thanks for joining us.
what's up, dude?
Yeah, it's talk about
And this
the
is a safe space, man. It's cool that we can talk Cannibal Holocaust as fans of the movie.
oh,
So,
absolutely.
so many people, they just either because of the violence or the cruelty, they won't give it a chance. And it's not going to be for everyone. This is not a Thanksgiving meal deal here. You want to watch this with the right kind of people, but
No, because I believe on 88 Films you can also, I think you can watch it without
yeah, there's a
the.
pita cut.
Yes. So if that's not, I don't think that that's anyone's thing. But if you want to see the film with it minus those scenes, then
Right.
you obviously already have that. That you can go that route. Which most of the time it's, I don't know. Most of the time I just don't really care for going back and watching. I've seen it once or a couple times. I don't really need to continue to keep seeing it. Now, how did the idea of owning or renting such a controversial title feel in the context of the video store era?
It just felt like that movie Cannibal Holocaust was kind of the granddaddy of them all. If
Mhm.
there are certain action movies, certain comedies everybody wants to get that are just legendary. This one had a reputation and it had so much cultural impact that I just wanted to see it. Like I just want to know what the buzz was about, I guess.
Yep.
So I wanted to at least have an opinion on it. And I always felt like I would talk to people that had seen it and I was like, oh man, one of these days it'll be there. Because you couldn't just go buy it from a store like ever. Maybe
No,
like a mail order store, where you could, wholesale some stuff, but you couldn't find this in a Blockbuster or a Hollywood, you know.
no. It was, I mean, I don't know about for you, but I remember when we rented it, it was in like one of those like more local video stores. It was not as accessible at Blockbuster or I mean Family Video sometimes to their credit did have some of like the more like controversial films, but it was always that was another one. It was always out of stock whenever we went there. Um and then last question I got for you. So why has Cannibal Holocaust remained one of the most infamous cult horror films of all time?
I gotta say um the violence, and then just it goes to a place where a lot of other horror movies would just say that that's off limits, that's taboo. I'm cool with some extremes, but you pushed it way too far here. And Cannibal Holocaust is not afraid to do that. It is a film that's ahead of its time, and I still think that it's relevant now. I think that if someone was like, hey, pick 10 movies that I've never seen a horror film, I would throw it in that list. I'd be like, you
Yeah.
got to see this movie, because you might not love cannibal films, but if you're going to watch one, get the granddaddy of them all, throw this thing on, and just at least you can say, hey, like that's where I draw the line with stuff. Or, that was a really well made found footage movie. I can see why Blair Witch or these other movies came about because of it. So
Absolutely.
it
Well,
means a lot to me. I love that fucking movie.
I think you touched on something. Is that this would be up there for me when I think of found footage. This is probably one of the earliest examples that I could think of, at least in this style, the format. kind of what set the tone going forward with everything that we got after. Obviously, I would think that maybe Ghost Watch or the Blair Witch Project, you know, that kind of elevated things in different ways, and they were covering like different subject matter compared to this.
Right.
But I mean, this is what was just so impactful, not only in found footage, but the cannibal subgenre. Um, I don't know. For me, I feel like a lot of the other movies kind of pale a little bit in comparison to this one. This one's definitely like S tier in my mind.
It is. When you think, you ask like a horror fan, like, describe like 10 horror movies that really like. People be like Psycho, Halloween, The Shining. There's going to be The Exorcist. There's going
Hmm.
to be these staples that everybody has. And then when people start thinking of extreme cinema, you got to have Cannibal Holocaust on that list.
Oh
There's
yeah,
just certain ones that just, they're shocking and they're exploited for a reason. All of these films could be on that list, really. Evil Dead, I mean, all of these, that's why we chose them. But Cannibal
absolutely.
Holocaust is the hardest one to get, hardest one to stomach, and kind of separates the men from the boys, as they say. I mean, it's a real on the nose film.
We definitely came out on the other side, fortunately. Well, listen, you know, I would love the idea of possibly covering more films that were, you know, from the band video store days, as well as I think we might try to work something out with doing a deep dive into the cannibal subgenre,
Yeah, I'm
because
down.
there's so much that we could cover from that. I just wanted to go ahead and thank you. So, Josh, thank you so much for coming on here. So, you could find him at Beyond the Grave Media. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on After Dark. So, give the viewers an idea where they can find you. Do you have anything coming up that you want to promote?
Totally. Thanks for having me. I love coming on,
Absolutely.
collaborating with Steven. I was telling him earlier, Steven knows his shit. So it's fun
Thanks, man.
as another small YouTuber that just kind of got started because they love horror movies, to sit down and to dissect movies. And you can tell when you're talking to someone sitting across with someone that really loves the movie that you're talking about and has done the research and is professional about it and can kind of like poke fun at themselves and have fun. So thank
Yeah.
you. I
Yeah.
always love
Thanks, man. No,
collaborating with Steven.
it's always a good time. Listen, if I can, if one thing I can take away from our Jaws franchise deep dive, I try to put a positive spin on Jaws: Revenge for in your honor.
I can take that. So
Yeah.
thanks
Uh,
so much for having me.
Absolutely, man.
Follow
Absolutely.
me Instagram. Um, I got a Facebook. I don't really check it. Same with TikTok, but mostly Instagram and then on YouTube. And I got some new codes that are coming out with a new partnership I'm excited for. So
Hell yeah.
thanks for having me, man. It's been great.
Ab-
Anytime.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. And I'm Steven here. You guys can find me at After Hours Video. You can find me. I'm all over the place. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, you name it. Um, Feel free to like shout out, you know, if there's any band films you want us to cover,
Do
or
it.
any of the films from the cannibal subgenre. We're gonna hopefully do a deep dive here in the near future. Just a few things real quickly before we sign off. I wanted to plug. So we actually have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre ranking episode of Beyond the Blood coming up here soon. So be on the lookout. Got some gems there. And we got Cinema Rewind tomorrow, where you guys can find us at 9 p.m. Uh, or I mean, on Wednesday. My bad. We're doing it a day later, so it's on Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific time. And then I actually have an After Dark episode coming up with Garrett from Born to Be Rad on Thursday, 10
Nice.
p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Pacific time. So just want to thank everyone for joining us after dark. We're the